Please welcome back to the stage, Rachel Wilkerson.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your 15-minute break. Our next session bridges the gap between inspiration and implementation. Across Indiana, more and more employers are recognizing that supporting mental health isn't just the right thing to do, it's essential to retaining talent, strengthening teams, and sustaining long-term success. The leaders in this panel are setting the example for what that looks like in action, building workplaces where well-being is truly part of the culture. Guiding this conversation is Vanessa Green-Cinders, President and CEO of the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. Under Vanessa's leadership, the Chamber, along with the Wellness Council of Indiana, has been a driving force in helping employers make mental health and well-being an everyday priority. So please join me in welcoming Vanessa.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I think everybody can hear me. So very excited to be up here with our esteemed guests and this discussion, building mentally healthy workplaces. We are going to hear some best practices and hopefully some kind of tangible action steps that all of you can take away from our panel. Candace Schaefer from Purdue University, Ellen Lowe from Lippert, and Kaylin Bowman from Steinberger Construction. So, we kind of talked about this before, and I couldn't think of a better way to hear from Brian Mills what a leader, to kind of these leaders up on stage to talk in some more practical terms. So we want today's conversation to continue that theme of leadership and courage that Brian talked about, because creating mentally healthy workplaces isn't just an HR priority, it's a business leadership challenge. It asks us as executives to be bold and brave, to be courageous, to lead with that same conviction for mental health that we bring to safety, quality, and our financial performance. We know that when employees and their families are struggling, it impacts productivity, retention, and morale. But when we prioritize mental well-being, we see stronger teams, better decision-making, and a more resilient culture. So our panelists today represent organizations that have taken that challenge seriously, and they are here to share what works, what's hard, and what's next. I couldn't be more excited to be up here with them. And so before we get into the questions, I thought we would start by letting each panelist to introduce themselves, who you are, and maybe give us a short summary of how you think about, or your organization thinks about, your mental health commitment. So Candace, you want to start with you?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Candace Schaefer, I'm the Associate Vice President for Benefits and Payroll at Purdue University. If you're not aware what Purdue University is or does, we're about an hour north. That's our main campus, at least. We do have 2 regional campuses in the northeast and northwest corner of Indiana, and then we are actually also in about 44 states. We have a good portion of our population is hybrid or remote, which brings a different type of challenge to all sorts of things, including mental health. I think it's also important, because as we talk through some of the examples and things that we've done and what we've learned over the years, we're a small city. We have a police department, fire department, maintenance, janitorial, custodial. Of course, we have faculty, and then we have all the staff, managers, professionals to support all of that. And as a university, of course, we have students. That is why we are there. While our focus in human resources, it tends to be on a day-to-day basis, our faculty and staff, we understand very much that in order for the students to get the best out of our faculty and staff have to be doing the best that they can every day as well, including their families. So anyway, I think that's kind of our foundation as we approach everything, knowing that our focus in my office is really the faculty staff, but we'll get into how we collaborate with some of the other arms of the institution.
Great. Ellen?
Awesome. Ellen Lowe with Lippert. We are a global manufacturing company with over 15,000 employees, headquartered in Elkhart, Indiana, so the northern part of the state, with a presence, like I said, globally and in most states. So we are, our team members make up, we've got about 7,000 of them here in Indiana. And it's a lot of, welders and frontline team members, but also our leaders as well. So our mission is to make lives better, and I have the duty and the privilege to bring that cultural strategy to life, that everyone matters, no matter where they are on their journey, on their wellness journey, whether that is with mental health or financial wellness or any of the other dimensions. We are here to support them wherever they are on that journey, and to educate them as well. We like to use the analogy of our people are gardeners. So we are tilling, we are laying the foundation, we are watering the resources, we are setting the soil and making it a place where our team members can thrive and grow. Because just as Vanessa said, when our team members are thriving in the workplace, they are then thriving with their families and in the communities where they live.
Great. Kaylin?
Good morning. I'm Caitlin Bauman. I am the representative of small business here, Steinberger Construction. We are based in Logansport, Indiana, and opening a second office in Lafayette here within the next couple weeks. It's very exciting. We are industrial and commercial construction, so we do big steel buildings, we do concrete, we have laborers all the way up to design build, so we have estimators, things of that nature. And our approach to wellness at Steinberger follows our motto of building the future together. We have to acknowledge that every human is a whole human, both at work and at home. So we, as Ellen mentioned, the dimensions, we really take a big approach to the 8 dimensions of wellness, and a huge component of that is mental health. And stereotypically, our construction workers maybe had a harder time with that, and I am excited to share with all of you some of the ways that we broke down some of those conversations. We're able to really make mental health a priority, not only for our leadership, but also for our field team.
Great. Okay, so you've heard from all the panelists about the fact that mental health is a priority, but I would ask each of you to maybe explain, was there, what made your organization make mental health a priority? Was there a set of data? Was there just a moment? Was it you? Was it an executive? Like, how did it come about? Maybe we'll just start down the line again.
Me again?
Candace, yeah.
Sure. So I would say it was a combination of things. So in 2017, 2018, we rolled out a wellness program, as many employers do. Mental health or behavioral health was one of the 5 pillars that we rolled out, including financial, physical, work-life integration, and social. So it became important then, but I will tell you probably the moment that it really became a focus was during COVID. We were getting a lot of feedback, just like many of you, everyone was sent home, and how do you continue, we had the charge. We are going to continue educating students, and we're not going to stop, right? So we had to figure it out. And at that time, then we were getting a lot of feedback in human resources about everyone is, very stressed out, all the emotions, not sure how to handle these things. And so at that time, it became, we have resources. We've always had resources for mental health. How do we educate? How do we reinforce how people can access those resources and that information that was just out there? So that really is what brought it forward for us. And then it's just never stopped from there. We've grown in the resources that we have in the education, and then also some of the support that we have throughout the years that we've built.
Ellen?
Yeah, and I'll add, so Lippert is a family business, and when our 3rd generation owner, Jason Lippert, took over the helm as CEO, it was a data point. It was our turnover. It was over 100% turnover. And he looked at that statistic, and he will be the first to tell you we are not ashamed of that. He will be the first to tell you that we have to treat our team members differently. We have to treat them as humans. We can't just treat them as, part of the product or part of the process. They are humans, and they've got feelings, they've got needs, they've got dreams. So it really started with that, of just simply building those relationships and asking, what are your dreams? What are your goals? What is your purpose? For so many of our team members that are hourly, a large bulk of our workforce is hourly team members. They were simply coming in, clocking in, getting a paycheck, and going home. And it was when we really understood what their dreams were, that's when the shift happened. That's when the resources stepped in. That's when we added on to our people teams. So he'll be the first to tell you that it started with a data point and then continued with conversations and journeys that was years ago. So for all of you sitting in the audience who are like, I'm not there yet, you have to start somewhere.
Kaylin?
So I took over the role as wellness director in 2019, and right before COVID, it was super neat. It was exciting. And I really did some work, and that's when we kind of made the shift to the 8 dimensions of wellness. So we have always been, to the credit of our previous ownership, safety-oriented and wellness-oriented well before it was popular. So our former owner started our wellness programming actually in 2007. So in 2019, when we said, okay, wellness is truly more than just physical health or the lack of illness, and we started using the 8 dimensions of wellness, we asked our team, and we are really lucky that we have good survey participation. But annually, we do a survey. We say, what do you want from wellness? If these are the areas of wellness, where is your interest lie? And our team told us that it was emotional and mental health. So it was an easy shift to really hyper-focus on those areas that our team was interested in. And it's easy with the 8 dimensions of wellness to see the ways in which all of it is interconnected. So we are able to say, financial stress, you might that might be what you're taking home every night, but we are able to pull that in with the mental health and your physical health as well. So our team told us, it was the data, but our team told us that they wanted more of it.
Yeah, and maybe a quick follow-up for any of you, but now that mental health, all of your organizations have prioritized it. It sounds like COVID had a big focal point, right, around mental health for your teams. But have there been any other kind of, big evolutions or ways that you've kind of changed in your thinking about mental health and how you focus on it with your team members since COVID or other big themes outside of COVID?
I'll speak to this. I think for us, at least, the key has been that there's not ever been a big shift. We've stayed the course. We have prioritized mental health. And there were a lot of issues that came along with COVID, but a lot of it was building the resiliency and practicing the things that strengthen your mental health as a preventative act with mental health. So for us, it was specifically that there wasn't a big shift. We just stayed the course.
For us, continuous improvement. We have to continue to innovate and evolve and be curious within this space. Because the needs of our team members are changing, the needs of the industry are changing, the cost of healthcare continues to change. So yes, there are things that we continue to add. We are excited that our leave policy has expanded, including bereavement and parental leave, as well as we've added an on-site health coach so our team members can talk directly with a board-certified health coach. Additionally, we've added 2 chaplains to our team, and excited to launch that we have a $0 copay to be able to access, to our point, of virtual telehealth, virtual therapy starting in 26.
I think the biggest adjustment for us was because when we started getting asked all the questions about our resources, our team kept saying, but we've had these resources. We've always had them. So we've learned how to communicate differently and how we really do a better job now in intertwining behavioral health with all of the other areas of wellness. We've always known that they're all interrelated, right? But I think when we're talking about physical health in one of our newsletters or articles, we're weaving in behavioral health, financial health. We're really doing a better job of talking about how they all connect together, and how one part you could be doing well but not in another, and that could then impact your behavioral health, your mental health. So I think that's the biggest thing we've done over time in evolving.
Great. Well, let's move into strategy of how you all have kind of made this happen around this topic of mental health. And maybe, Kaylin, we'll start with you. I mean, and you kind of alluded to this in your opening, but I think construction, probably given the demographics there, I would imagine it's not an easy industry to discuss mental health for your team members. And so maybe you could share with this group kind of how your leadership team has helped address that and what best practices or steps you've taken.
Okay, I think first and foremost, it started with us with education. We had to redefine what mental health was, because there was this, I would argue the stigma was more about what mental health was than what it actually is, or what the perception of mental health was for our team. And we do traditionally have a more rough and tumble group, but they are also some of the most generous, kind, giving, compassionate humans I've ever met. And redefining mental health is not just an absence of the ability to work through hard things, but the reality of dealing with those hard things when they come. So when we were able to redefine and educate our team as to what mental health was, we really got a strong start on having these conversations. And ultimately, we talk about it early and often. We didn't just jump in. We've started, and I'm happy to elaborate on more of this in a little bit, but we didn't just start with introducing QPR training for everybody or introducing new policies for wellness time off. We just started talking about it. We talked about it often. We talked about it consistently. We talked about ways to practice strength in mental health, and preventative health, again, is so important for mental health. And I think one of the things specifically in regards to leaders, for us, not everyone is prepared to be a leader in this space. So identifying and finding who those leaders are and empowering them with the resources and the tools to be that first line of defense for our people. I am so lucky that we are a team of 85 and I get to know them all. I'm not always the one that they see every day. So empowering the people around them to have the access to those resources and the education of those tools. I would love to share a story about our Chief Operations Officer. He took over, and he will tell you, I asked him if I could share this today, but he will tell you he was the first one to be the stereotypical construction guy. He was going to tell you, leave your problems at the door. We've got work to do. We've got buildings to build. And he will also be the first one to tell you he had a lot to learn. We took a leadership team of 10 people to a Liesel Mertz empathy training workshop in Carmel, and it was incredible. And he came out with so many new tools and techniques on how to help people manage their mental health. His name is Phil, and he started calling himself Positive Phil. It was very strange, but it was a lot of fun. It really took hold. But I think ultimately, when it comes to leaders, we start the training top down. No leadership person has not taken the training that we ask of our team to take. They have full buy-in. And then from an ownership and leadership standpoint, from a dollars and cents, they've invested in it. They pay our people to have these trainings like QPR. They pay for policies like wellness time off. So there is really financial as well as all other kinds of buy-ins from our leaders.
Yeah, that's great. So Ellen, you mentioned this, but it sounds like you have a lot of executive buy-in on this topic. It starts at the top with Jason, and you all have, I think, a very caring culture. But how do you maintain that buy-in and kind of balance that with business performance, right? Your industry is at the tip of the spear on lots of kind of economic ups and downs, and so maybe speak to how you and the executive team balance all those things.
Yeah, I think the red hot word right now is tariffs. So yes,
Yes.
we do ups and downs. Oh, yes. It starts with listening, and Kaylin said this too. So listening sessions, our CEO is in person at least once a week at every single one of his locations, one of our locations, simply listening. So it's a time for our leaders to come forward. It's a time for our team members to come forward. I mean, certainly there's an agenda and a framework to work around, but he spends a couple hours at least once a week listening and sharing stories of the dreams that were achieved from our team members. So yes, we're sharing business statistics and the business data and the business metrics, but we're also sharing the people-centric metrics that matter so much to him as well. So he's listening, he's engaging, he's building relationships, because we don't know all 15,000 of our team members, but if you can build a relationship with one leader that has an empowering impact on others, it's incredible. And then to your point about the business, that roller coaster, it's imperative, and they've got the buy-in, and they've taken the stance that even when business is starting that downturn, because it does and it will, that the resources for your employees, the resources for our team members, stay consistent. So even though the business is turning down, that doesn't mean our resources are an on-off switch. It's more of a volume button, and how can we adjust those resources if needed, or how can we turn those resources up from when our team members really need it the most? So I implore you to take a look at your resources and what's the first to go when business is in that downturn, and what's the first to stay, and making sure those mental health resources, those wellness resources, those human resources are the first to stay and consistently stay, regardless of business.
That's a great way to think about it, the first to stay. So Candace, you alluded to this, but Purdue, obviously a huge organization with many different components. You talked about mental health and some of your focus around faculty and staff, but how does that kind of integrate in the broader institutional strategy and touch students and families and the community, and how do you and your team think about that?
Sure. All of our resources and benefits and programs are available to our faculty and staff families. So that's never been anything that we've changed. And so we've always had that integration. I think because we're so large and there's so many different programs, it's been just a focus of my team to make sure that they understand what's going on around campus so that we can reinforce resources. QPR trainings, that's not human resources doing, but there is a department that provides that. So we have information on that, and we share that. We try to put that in our newsletter when we know it's coming up. Mental health first aid, the same thing. that is offered by various organizations and areas within Purdue. So we advertise that. We had our own training for human resources on mental health first aid as well, so that we could be even better at helping others. We have a service center within HR, so folks call and email all the time. So it's always important for that team to be aware of what's going on collectively. And then we've done other partnerships throughout the university. Mental Health Awareness Week is really more of a student-driven event. A couple times during the year, we typically are a partner in that. We'll provide supplies, funding, man events if that's what we need to do. So there's a lot of that collaboration going on throughout the year. And then we also we have business partners within human resources that are really more that forward-facing human resource face to departments and the C-suite. And so we get a lot of feedback from them and partner with them on trainings, or when managers or supervisors need help with their team, either individually or as a group, we'll help reinforce, come out, do the training, get them connected to resources, our vendors who do trainings, things like that. So again, because we are so large, it's a little different. When Kayla and I told her earlier, I was like, sometimes I get a little jealous when I hear small businesses, because you can talk and touch to everybody, and with us being spread across the U.S. and having 13,000 employees, it's a little difficult. So a lot of it's collaboration, educating ourselves, being aware so that we can share those resources.
Yeah, that's great. Some great different perspectives up here. So let's get practical and talk about maybe some specific best practices. And I just feel like, especially right now, there are a lot of challenges and opportunities in the world that we live in, and in the space of mental health. And I think the conversation this morning morning alluded to that it's a big nut to crack, but I am just, and I think all of you are the same way, a big believer in like, let's focus on a few tangible things that can make a difference. And I know from our kind of Indiana Chamber Wellness Council perspective, one of the reasons we were so excited to partner on this is how can we all as business leaders, as community leaders, like make a difference in our own way, one step at a time. And if we all do that, we will make a difference. And so I know that each of you have probably one or two best practices or things that you've done with employees, with their families, with your team members that have really made a difference around mental health that maybe some of us can emulate and take to our own organization. So Ellen, maybe start with you. We're gonna switch it up.
Sure. Thank you. If you got some money, I encourage you to hire a wellness person. So it could be a coordinator, it could be a director, it could be a VP, whatever that position looks like. But somebody outside of HR, because we know how busy HR gets and all the other things that they're doing, somebody outside of benefits, somebody outside of HR, somebody that will keep all team members in focus. So, sometimes our benefits team gets caught up on, well, are they medically enrolled or are they on the plan or not? Whereas the wellness person can really think holistically about all dimensions and all team members. So I would definitely put that initiative. My position with the company is relatively new within the past 4 years. So when you think about the journey and where do I get started today, it did not start with a wellness director. It actually started with our culture and leadership team many years ago. And wellness was added later because it was part of what the HR team was doing, but we knew the importance of pulling those responsibilities out. Secondly, I would add what's really popular and a best practice is a team step challenge. So we host it annually. It's about a 4-week long challenge. You're simply tracking your steps. But more than that, we all know the health benefits of walking or stepping throughout the day. So it's hosting those or inviting a coworker to say, hey, instead of sitting here for this meeting, let's step up and let's go walk together. Or just getting your team members away from their workstations and collaborating and talking and communicating together. So we've taken it as far as we now print stickers, and so our teams are really empowered to get creative with where those steps and what that walking path looks like around each of their locations, and they're excited to showcase it. But during the actual 4-week long step challenge, there's camaraderie, there's accountability, there's this sense of teamwork, and yes, there's a trophy at the end as well, which our teams respond really well to. But it's amazing how just that gateway of let's start stepping together, let's start walking together leads to so many other impactful things.
That's great. Kaylin?
Oh, okay.
Keep it interesting.
Wow, over there. So I actually talked to our president about this yesterday because I was curious what his thought about it was. And I said, what are the initiatives that you think led to the biggest difference? And he said the long-term initiative was changing to a culture of humans and engagement. Putting our humans first was the best thing that we could have done for our business. Our business has been in business since 1945. It started as a residential family-owned business, and now we are a multi-million-dollar construction company that employs 85 people and has not stopped slowing down. It's stressing me out a little bit. We like that I can talk to everybody, but there's more of them. They've got spouses, they've got kids, they've got hobbies. It's exhausting, guys. But within that, to Ellen's point, having someone who will continue the conversation. So the way that we do that, we have weekly toolbox talks. They started as a safety initiative, and I have taken them over as also a wellness initiative. So I make sure that we have a wellness tip in there every week. I make sure at least one of those every 6 weeks is about mental health, and whether that, again, is that proactive, whether practicing gratitude, stress management, things like that, just talking about it regularly, keeping it open. And then some things, again, maybe if you have some money, we started an initiative called Wellness Time Off, which when you think about especially your new hires or maybe your people with young children, you want to use your PTO for your families, for your vacation, for your fun things. You don't often think about using your PTO for your therapy appointment or your visit with your primary care. So we instituted a policy, or even volunteer hours, giving back to the community that you're part of. So we instituted hours for every individual along our team to do those wellness things. And it has been very well received. We've seen a huge tick up in utilization of primary care, dentist appointments, vision appointments. So it's been really great for our team. We also started training all of our team, as well as a bunch of our subcontractors, our partners in our community, and QPR. That's Question, Persuade, Refer, which is a suicide first aid. And while I think it is crucial, especially in the construction industry, being one of the leading industries for suicide, it keeps the conversation relevant. It keeps the importance of practicing the resiliency and practicing and strengthening your mental health as top priority for our team, and also gives our leadership some actionable things to do when and if they notice a mental health crisis among their team. So those are two things that have been really strong initiatives, but our long-term initiative of just making our business about our people. Our motto is building the future together. We cannot put up buildings if we do not have our team.
Well said. Candace?
So two initiatives that are probably my favorite that we've done. One is called Beyond the Surface. So this became an education campaign that we started about 3 or 4 years ago. And it really, the premise of it was, I could be like, hey, Ellen, how are you today? And she'd say, I'm fine. So the idea was go beyond the surface of I'm fine or it's okay. And how do you have those conversations to say, how are you really feeling? What's really going on? I've noticed this about you recently. And we did a twofold campaign with that. Went out to the employees in general, just educating how to talk to your coworkers, how to come forward when you're not feeling well, what resources, of course, are out there. And then we did a whole campaign with our managers and supervisors as well, because we've found that the managers and supervisors are key in obviously the culture of the university, but also how things are going day to day. And Beyond the Surface also included just basic things like getting enough sleep and drinking enough water, and some of those basics that I think a lot of folks sometimes forget day to day, how important those things are to your mental health and how you feel and how it integrates with everything else that you're doing every day. And then the second initiative, we opened it on our the West Lafayette campus, an employer health clinic back in 2013. And from day one, we had behavioral health counselors on site, 2 full-time. And that has never ended. I think the biggest thing that we did over the last few years is shift to individuals can do those appointments virtually. And obviously, because I said earlier, we have a lot of folks that are hybrid or remote at the university, but it was even more about, not about the fact that they were remote or hybrid, but just more of sometimes you just don't want to leave home to talk to a counselor. And so having that access virtually, either by phone or video, becomes very important. And if it's through the employer clinic, through our clinic, it's free. And we've got them connected to our EAP provider in the event that folks, those short-term crises through EAP, that it turns into something that's needed longer. And then they will refer into that clinic, those counselors, so that they have that more regular visit.
Great. So I guess I would throw this up to any of you, but you've all mentioned some great best practices and things that you do that are very specific. So can you speak to how you measure the impact? I mean, not just participation numbers, but is it retaining staff? Is it surveys? Is it what do you do to kind of measure whether you've been successful?
I can go first real quick. A lot of it's our engagement, especially in regards to the counselors at the clinic. We run all the data and we look at who's engaging, how often are they engaging, the types of issues that are being engaged on. That helps inform us on, do we need more resources? Do we need more services made available to to our population. We do a survey every year as well around benefits, and we ask the questions about, do you feel like your boss cares about you? Do you have someone at work you can rely on? And those are important data points for us so that we understand what's going on. Again, because we can't meet with every single person out there. So those are two of the ways.
Yeah, I would add, we've lots of data, all the data points, all the things, all the layers, because it all matters, and none of it is exclusive to any of the other data points. But one thing that Lippert is proud of is we have not increased insurance premiums in the last 6 years. Yeah. So that data point to me tells me we are focusing in, and it's working. It's paying off. We are on the preventive side, and we are educating about the preventive side so we can avoid some of those other high-cost claims. Additionally, in addition to the engagement surveys that y'all do, we add another layer of questioning called quality of life questions. They're absolutely voluntary, but we find the majority of our, we have over 91% of respondents to our engagement survey, so really high engagement from a manufacturing standpoint. Those quality of life questions, so we're asking them specifically about the dimensions of wellness and how they think they're doing, and how we as an employer are doing in providing those resources. So one of those data points is we're seeing that actually mental health is trending well above financial wellness and above nutrition services. So that to me tells me we're doing things well with mental health. We got some other opportunities that we need to focus on in 26.
So I will share a couple data points, because I'm sure that from the business perspective, you guys like to hear that. Again, all the surveys, we ask the questions, we take insurance data, we do all of the data points, but things like retention and attendance. We are a construction company. It is hard work, and we are often getting young men and women in the field who have never done it before. So are they showing up? Are they working hard? Are we hanging on to them? Because as you all know, it's way more expensive to hire and train someone than it is to keep a good hard worker. And then I would like to share two very quick stories from my little wellness heart. So we had, part of the reason I know that this is working is because we have a second chance policy. We have to be zero tolerance for drugs and alcohol on our job sites. And that is usually once an incident happens. We have immediate termination, and then we have a process to reinstate people and get them back on our job sites. But the way that I know that these conversations are working is that we've had people come to us prior to termination, prior to needing to go through the second chance policy, and share with us that they're having issues, so that we are able to work on it from the front end. We are able to get them the benefits of maybe FMLA or whatever other, they're able to stay on our insurance because we don't have to terminate them, and we're able to help them through the process. So that's a really big deal to me. That's part of how I know it's working. And part of how I know it's working is supervisors are sharing with me that they've shared resources with our team, and they want to make sure that they've shared the right ones and enough of them. That's not quantifiable. I can't give you a number of how often our supervisors are doing that, but I can tell you our supervisors are doing that, and that's how I know that our conversations are working.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very inspiring. Okay, so we want to save a few minutes for audience questions. So think of them while I ask this one final question to each of our panelists. So again, our theme has been, as leaders, how do we be bold? How do we be courageous to address this very real issue in the workplace and with our team members and in our community around mental health? And so what is one bold action that you think every business leader or every leader in this room could take to advance and support mental health in the workplace? And Candace, maybe we'll start with you.
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I don't know how bold it really is, but I think the biggest thing is that leaders can't be afraid to talk about mental health, and even their own. You do have to set boundaries, of course, but you have to set the example. A lot of things that I mentioned earlier, we promote, good sleep and water intake and all that, but also take time off of work, right? Good work life integration is important. Now, it's different for everybody, and that's okay. And I think it's important for leaders to acknowledge that what is good for my work-life integration is different from Ellen's, different from Kaylin's, right? And different from Vanessa's. And that's okay, and leaders have to be bold in accepting that everyone manages life differently, and within those boundaries, it's okay. And to have those conversations is really important. And I think that helps open up folks to talk more, seek out the resources that they need, get the help that they need when they need it.
That's great. Ellen?
I'll add to that. My one thing, lead self. So when we think of it as a diagram, as a circle, and that core of that circle is leading yourself, then the next layer is leading your team, and then the external is leading business. So you can control leading yourself. You can water those habits that cultivate healthy outcomes, okay? What we water grows. Just as I started this, we're all gardeners. What are you tilling? What are you growing? What seeds are you planting? What foundation are you personally building that you can then be able to lead your family, your community, your teams, okay? Leadership is practiced from the inside out. So the one thing I'm leaving you with today is lead yourself. It starts with you.
Great. Kaylin?
Well, my bold statement is almost contradictory to theirs. As leaders, empower the right people.
Yeah.
Put the right people in charge of these conversations and be okay if it's not you. You have businesses to lead you. And to Ellen's point, yes, lead yourself. Take advantage of all of these wonderful resources. But as leaders, you want to take it all on and be in charge of it all. Empower the right people. Get the right people in the right seats who will talk about it and who will keep it front of mind. And be okay if it's not you.
I think it all fits because by empowering other people, by leading, you might decide I'm not the right person to do this and I'm going to empower someone else to do it. And so I think it all works together. So with that, we're going to open it up for any questions or comments or thoughts from the audience. Who wants to go first? Oh, we see one over there. I think a microphone is coming to you. Maybe we'll go there and then we're coming to you.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for this conversation. My name is Dora Ennim. I'm with Bethany Legacy Foundation. We know that employers can't just flip the switch and can have very good intentions on programs like this, but one of the things that can backfire is if you don't have a foundation or a culture of safety and trust. So do you have practical advice or strategies around ensuring that foundational trust and safety is there so people can raise their hand? Because mental health is hypersensitive and very personal. And so for people to declare, I have an addiction or I need help, how can we make sure that we're landing on the right platform for that?
I think for us, back to that beyond the surface, where we really focused on a whole initiative with our managers and supervisors, because I think that from a day-to-day perspective is, at least at Purdue, how we would help the day-to-day employee or student if they're needing help and need outreach. But yeah, that is really difficult when you're. We have 30,000 people on our payroll, so that one's a difficult one. But that's where we've tried to impact, and also with our business partners within HR who have day-to-day connection with our C-suite and unit leaders, ensuring that they know all the resources and the information or who to ask if they're approached, so that they can open those boundaries up as much as possible.
Any other comments?
I'm actually going to take Ellen's comment. She and I were talking earlier about talk about it early, talk about it often, be repetitive. It's not going to be the flip of a switch. You're going to have to start and you're going to have to stay the course. You're going to have to be repetitive. How many times did you say somebody has to hear something?
At least 5 times when they're ready to hear it. So you could be hearing that same thing over and over and it just in one ear and out the other until you're really ready to hear it. And
because it's not relevant until you need it, right?
Yep.
And then where do you go? So repeating over and over, ensuring the right folks have those resources so they know where to go.
Mm-hmm. In lots of different mediums and lots of different ways, telling the same message in different stories and in different platforms.
Great.
I would just add, explain the why. Sometimes that's simply all you need to hear is, why are we doing this training? Why are we doing this initiative? Why was that initiative pulled back? Why was that funding pulled back? This is why. your team members will respond really well to transparency and authenticity.
I think there was a question back there.
Great conversation. My name is Steve Vieweg, and I'm representing Infancy Onward, which is Indiana's Infant Mental Health Association. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary. And my question comes, Kaylin, to go back to something you said, which was it was important and helpful to define mental health. And I'm curious if you could tell us, how do you define it? What are the words you use? Because we're struggling with that in the infant mental health world, is how to get people to understand it. So give us some words.
I would say resiliency, the ability to a strong mental health is the ability to overcome the hard things that come up. So for me, really, it's about resiliency. I think within our space, it was often thought of as weakness. If you struggled with mental health, it was seen as weakness. So we really had to redefine it as, how do we practice that muscle? How do we strengthen that muscle of being able to overcome the hard parts of life when they come?
I would just add too, we have a visual that it is a spectrum, and sometimes you're on this side of the spectrum and other times you're on this side, and no matter where you are in that journey or that spectrum, you always need to take care of that muscle and practice that muscle, so that when you are going through life circumstances, you are able, to your point, be resilient. So I would add that to the definition or that visual as well.
Great. I think there was another question here.
Hi, my name is Tracy. I work for a manufacturing company in LaPorte, Indiana. It's a plastics company, roughly 250 people. How do you get people involved? It's my manager and I for safety. We've come a long way in safety for the last 4 years. How do you get involvement? We started a health and wellness program last year. We got days people, but trying to get these production people, they work 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So it's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. 1 or 2 people on these shifts will get involved. I'm the one that they see all the time. I am the one that they come to. They're comfortable talking to me, but how do I get them involved in this health and wellness stuff? Because I'm at a loss right now.
When you were talking about all that, I was like, yep, those are our employees. Yep, that's our shifts. Yes, we work in plastics. Yes to all of that. You have to start somewhere. So if you think of it as throwing darts, we all want to hit that bullseye. We all want 100% participation. We all want every initiative to stick. And we have to accept that we're not always going to hit the bullseye. Not everything is going to stick. So where can we start? It's by doing something. So to your point, find that ambassador, find that wellness champion, find somebody that's willing to share their testimonial or story, because it needs to be bigger than just you. It needs to ripple on through all layers of the organization. So start somewhere, find one person that's willing to share their story and share their wins and share their dreams, and it will continue to ripple out from there.
So is it better to find one person on one shift and then work their way up through that?
Yeah. You got to find what works best for you. Sometimes it's going to take a couple of people or a committee or a team or a leader that will then empower their team to participate. But just also understand too that sometimes participation doesn't tell the whole story. Sometimes the lives that we save or the lives that we change is a bigger story. The one is bigger than the 100 that you got participating.
And you could be helping folks and you don't even know it. They're just not coming forward. I mean, as I said earlier, when COVID happened and everybody was like, oh my gosh, we don't have any of these resources. And we were like, we've had these resources for years. And it just was about being repetitive, and it feels exhausting and frustrating for those that are doing it every day, but it is helping. It's just sometimes hard to see. It's not always tangible. So just don't stop sharing the resources, and don't stop trying to make something stick or work or get more excitement around it, I guess. It could be helping.
I'll add too, it's also got to be really convenient. They can't go out of their way to do the thing. It's got to just be part of something that they're doing, and it's just make it easy. For example, telehealth. We were essentially, when we first launched it, we were asking them to do it outside of work hours and using their own devices, and no way are they going to do it. But as soon as we set up the tablets within their own workspaces that they could log in using the tablet, using our Wi-Fi or using our service in a private space that they could do during the workday, yeah, they're now using telehealth and connecting with those resources. So make it convenient.
And I would also encourage you back to finding the right leaders, as acknowledging that wellness as a whole is maybe not where everybody's at, but you might have somebody who runs marathons and then they can be an advocate for your physical wellness. And you might have somebody who was a social worker in a past life, so they might be an advocate for your mental health. And somebody who's really into 401ks might be an advocate for your financial wellness. So acknowledging that finding that one person who's going to advocate for wellness the way that you are is not realistic. So finding those mini ambassadors almost to bring buy-in to the programming in general is the way that you get them wrapped around the whole programming.
Great. I think we have time for one more question. Anyone? Up here.
Fabulous. You don't know how full this makes my heart to hear you all talking about this, because it's something that I brought up when I was Surgeon General as an important need to create that connection between health and wellness in businesses. I'm going to finish on a controversial topic because that's me, that's who I am. But we're in the Colts facility. I do a lot with the Pro Football Hall of Fame, a lot of conversations about their employees and sleep, number one, and its impact on mental health, and number two, marijuana. And so I would just love any comments that any of you three have on if you're talking about these issues with your employees and how you're talking about them in a climate where, again, we're all pushed to deny ourselves sleep, even as we see increasing connections between sleep and mental health, and where marijuana use is normalized to the point that over half of adults out there are now using it in some way, shape, or form, at least by some reports.
So I will speak just very briefly to the marijuana. Since we have a zero tolerance policy, that has not been as big of an issue. There has been conversation around it, which primarily lies with our safety director. So I don't really talk much about that in terms of...
Only Indiana-based, though, right?
Correct, we are.
Like I said, you go over to Michigan.
Right, but we random. So if there is any trace, then it's immediate termination. But the sleep conversation is especially prevalent for our team because it's kind of like you got to be the first one on the job site, you got to be the last one to leave. So what has worked well for our team as logical, process-driven people is to draw the direct link between lack of sleep and all of the other impact that makes in your life. They are smart people. They like the data, they like the knowledge. So to draw for our process-driven people, that direct link between lack of sleep and the way that it impacts your life has been impactful to us. It's still challenging, they still argue, but that has been really powerful for us.
Anything else?
You want me to go? Yeah, sure. Well, and I've mentioned already with the campaigns that we've done, we focus on sleep and how important it is, and making those connections, I think, like Kaylin mentioned. Marijuana, I mean, we're zero, you work at Purdue, zero tolerance, but I mean, there have been conversations because we're in 45 states, but nothing, that's probably been just more internal with human resources. But yeah, that one's a tough one, but is coming, I think, to be more prevalent or more frequent conversations.
Yeah, and I would say we haven't focused on those two exact initiatives, like we haven't pulled those two apart, but certainly it is impacting all of the other areas of wellness. Lippert is actually the #1 manufacturer of mattresses, so if you... So there's that plug as well. So we do understand the importance of sleep quality on a quality mattress. Yes.
You have a job because of it.
Yes.
Absolutely, because of sleep. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we also understand the shift workers and the off shifts, and even getting child care for our shift workers too. So it absolutely is a conversation that we are having. Not to say that we're not having it, but at this time that we're not doing a specific campaign about those two specific areas.
Well, I think that was a great note to end on. Please help me in thanking our great panelists. I think it was a great discussion.
Thank you, Vanessa, and our panelists. We appreciate your incredible insights. I thought the wellness time off was interesting, and just the encouragement to use your PTO in general. A lot of us at Channel 6, we use our vacation time just to chill at home for a day or take some time off. So I appreciate you, ladies. Well, we are going to take a quick 5-minute break before our next session, so we'll see you back in a few minutes.